from the hip-hop world who makes music, clothing, and a whole lot of headlines. Please welcome Tyler, the Creator.
The ringleader of the hip-hop collective Odd Future.
Okay, now what about your lyrics?
What about them?
What are you saying in your lyrics?
Nothing. Shit to piss old white people off like you.
Is that right?
Who are you? Morgan Freeman's son.
Tyler, the Creator.
Yes.
Tyler, the Creator falls under many titles: rapper, producer, songwriter, designer, actor, anti-bullying advocate, and chef.
All my life, I've really liked syrup. I just liked eating waffles all day.
Have you ever had bacon and syrup?
I'm not finished.
Today, he's widely accepted as one of the most transformative musicians on the scene, though he wasn't always revered as such. You may remember a time when Tyler's reputation consisted of eating cockroaches and harassing people on Adult Swim. Being routinely cast aside and written off as nothing more than a provocative troll by critics during his early days in the industry, begging the question of how exactly a rebellious kid like Tyler went from freestyling into a 144p webcam to hosting his own annual music festival across the street from where he accepted his first Grammy.
I never fully felt accepted in rap and stuff, so for y'all to always stand by me and get me here, I really appreciate that.
Join me as we take a deep dive into the life and career of hip-hop's favorite bastard, Tyler, the Creator.
What's up, Aramis? He draws well. Hi. Say hi. He's high. He's high. Who the hell am I?
Tyler Gregory Acoma was born on March 6, 1991, in Ladera Heights, California, only a few minutes south of Los Angeles. Growing up without a father, he and his sister Linda were raised by a single mother in Hawthorne, where he spent most of his time alternating between skateboarding and teaching himself how to play piano.
Started rhyming words at like 7, and then around 12 is when I start like trying to play piano and play instruments, and I taught myself drums and things like that.
Wow.
So,
did you graduate high school?
yeah, of course.
And then what did you do? How did you start professionally?
One, I'm not a professional because I don't know what I'm doing.
Tyler's passion for music has always been a massive part of his character, leading him to create his own imaginary album covers by the age of 7, complete with their own track lists and song lengths. As he got older, he made ends meet by working at FedEx and Starbucks, while bouncing between 12 different schools in the span of about 12 years.
I worked at Starbucks and FedEx, and oh my God. Horrible. Like they don't even want to move. They're just okay with pushing a box, and I'm like, I couldn't do it. So I remember I went to the manager dude or whatever, the shift dude, and I was like, hey, I've been here for about 2 weeks and 4 days. The checks are cool, but this is not for me. And he said, I know. He said, you're not supposed to be here.
It got to a point where, for one reason or another, he was being routinely barred or kicked out from nearly every organization he tried to join.
My whole life, I felt like a stepchild. I tried out for drama club. I got in and got kicked out within an hour because she said I was too hyper. I was standing on chairs, definitely, but I still think that I should have stayed in there. 9th grade, they wouldn't let me join band class because I couldn't read music. But I still had the passion, and I'm on 2 instruments now, picking up a 3rd. But when all that happened, I said, fuck them. I didn't let none of that shit stop me from doing anything that I wanted to do.
He was a self-described misfit, finding his own kind of solace at the skate park where he hung out with other like-minded rebellious teens.
How you doing, nigga? I'm doing good. How's your life?
2008 also happened to be the year he kicked off his first ever YouTube channel, which is still up today, believe it or not, back when he went by the pseudonym Blockshead, or otherwise
Tyler the fucking Creator, the bastard, the idiot, the ass, dick sucking nigga. But listen, on another note,
Hold up.
As stupid and as scuffed as these videos may have been, this was the world's first real glimpse at Tyler messing around with his friends, making porn of his stuffed animals, and rapping into the front camera of a fucking DSi, it looks like.
All you niggas hate me. Shout out to Casey Veggies, customized greatly, customized daily. Actually, I just had a threesome with Alicia Keys, Common, Kanye West, and Carson Daly.
I personally hope he never deletes this channel. It's such a quick but honest glance into Tyler's life before fame, and served as the ideal introduction to the legacy we were about to witness. September 2008, 17-year-old Tyler uploaded what appeared to be a live performance of him and his friends up on stage rapping in front of at least 12 people. Haji Beats, Left Brain, and Tyler the Creator at a local talent show, debuting one of their earliest songs to date, Bubblegum.
Now bring the ruler out like Rick the Ruler, paid in full. I'm cooler than your cooler. Got these hoes, now where's my garden tool?
Tyler may have been a misfit, but as the following years would go on to prove, he was far from an outcast.
I want everybody in this motherfucking stadium to lose their fucking mind.
Odd Future Wolfgang Kill Them All was a loud, provocative ensemble of musicians, graphic designers, skaters, filmmakers, and MySpace friends. Spearheaded by Tyler himself, the original Odd Future roster consisted of up-and-coming artists Left Brain, Casey Veggies, Brandon Deshay, Matt Martians, Pyramid Vritra, Haji, and Jasper Dolphin. Originally intended as a magazine, Odd Future eventually started recording their own music in what they called The Trap, a small LA house owned by a couple of Tyler's friends, Sid the Kid and Taco Bennett, who eventually joined the collective themselves.
A bunch of fucking teenagers who just do bad shit knowing that we can go to jail and get in trouble for it because we think it's fun. So if you like live in Ladera and any of your shit got fucked up, it wasn't us.
It really wasn't.
No, like dead serious, it wasn't us. But there's a possible chance that we might know the people who maybe probably could have possibly did it. But I mean, why the fuck are we doing? Why am I talking like this?
And I present to you all, the Odd Future compilation.
By November 2008, they would compile a multitude of their proudest work, and thus the Odd Future tape was released into the world.
It's very offensive. You niggas defensive. If you can't take the heat, get the fuck out the kitchen.
Literally recorded on a computer microphone, the Odd Future tape was gritty and profane, riddled with provocative lyrics and pretty rough production. But keep in mind, this was a young group of new artists just working with whatever they had to create a product they were happy with. They were just starting to figure out an identity, making this project essential for their own individual growth. This thing was purely homemade, a DIY project from start to finish. A particular trademark of Odd Future that would make the group so goddamn captivating. Odd Future wouldn't have been able to thrive as a collective without the prolific internet buzz they carried. As mentioned earlier, it was through MySpace that brought much of the group together in the first place, as they continued to recruit new members throughout 2009. Somewhere along the way, Tyler caught wind of a mixtape titled Kitchen Cutlery by fellow MySpace user Sly Tendencies, or as you may know him, Earl Sweatshirt.
I was sucking my daddy when I was 7 years old. A field of them. Come here, candy boy. Why you got so many necklaces? Why you got necklace?
It was around this time that the group made several more additions, including Mike G, Domo Genesis, and some other random guy. I think his name was Frank something.
They looking for a check. Tell them it ain't likely.
Whatever. You probably don't know him. The group was a striking embodiment of adolescence and quickly built a cult following with their violent lyrics and keen sense of branding. They understood the importance of pushing an image and just how much a simple logo drawn up by Tyler plastered on a t-shirt could drive their music even further. Odd Future self-promoted their own work and developed a personal relationship with their audience via Tumblr, using online networks to the best of their abilities.
I had a template for my press releases with the logo at the top. It made people think that Odd Future was signed to some big marketing firm. But we weren't, it was just me.
As stated by Pitchfork's Brianna Younger, they saw ahead to a time when accessibility, lifestyle branding, and content are just as important as the music itself, pioneering pop-up shops as a means to promote merch, and more importantly, their music. Becoming an icon for hypebeast culture practically overnight, Odd Future was an underground success, even revitalizing streetwear in the process.
I make stupid shirts and people like it, so I'm grateful. Cats and shit and donuts. Like, in reality, this shirt is stupid as fuck. It's ugly, it's tacky. People like this shit. I'm excited.
It was like they were beginning to develop their own microculture by appealing to both hip-hop heads and skaters alike, opening up the door for a new demographic of rap fans. People who weren't normally interested in the genre were suddenly inspired by the rebellious "f*** you" attitude the group directed towards the mainstream.
I don't care what they say. Like, they say anything they feel like, and they get away with it.
And why is that appealing to you? Would you like to be able to do the same?
Yeah.
I've heard a lot worse lyrics, to be honest.
Do you think it's tongue-in-cheek, or do they mean it, or does it offend you?
They mean it. They definitely don't mean it.
One of the original fundamentals of hip-hop that felt so long forgotten, at a time when many artists seemed to uphold and preserve the status quo.
Yo, got all the black bitches mad cause my lane gets vanilla. She tryna get a room where my stuff. Grab the umbrella when it comes to your perception of my shit, I'm Helen Keller. When it comes to the perfection of my shit, I know you smell the...
Fringe was their first music video to be viewed by 1 million people, one of which being a gentleman by the name of Christian Clancy. As a former consultant for The Game and Eminem, Clancy found this ragtag group of edgy teens particularly intriguing. I mean, after all, it's hard to ignore Tyler holding down a shopping cart and pretending to f*** it on camera. Clancy wanted to be a part of the madness, and became their manager shortly after. It was fascinating to see a group of kids that truly thought for themselves, he said.
Every decision we make is based on what's authentic to them. So it makes my job easier because they're so driven to what they want and what they do and what they don't like. This is a group of kids that will tell. Tyler loves Justin Bieber. Frank loves Celine Dion. Who says that, right? Because they're afraid the guy next to them's gonna go, oh, what the fuck are you talking about? They are who they are.
At the time, Odd Future was still trying to find its footing. Nobody in the media could really pin them down as anything beyond a loose group of defiant teenagers with Tyler acting as the de facto leader.
The latest development from a gang of Los Angeles rappers called Odd Future, or as their aunties know them, the Odd Future Wolf Gang Kill Them All Expletive, is slightly different. They're giving away their music and charging large amounts of money for merchandise.
There's no marketing. It's exposing it at the right place at the right time. So when you have kids that are completely themselves, you don't necessarily market because you just take who they are and expose it, right?
People like Clancy saw them as fearless, authentic, two qualities that were going to push them far beyond the limits of their own imaginations.
The more you pull back the string, you were to see all these kind of variables. These kids do everything themselves. They write, produce, direct, illustrate, artwork, create. There's two types of artists. There's science project artists and then there's authentic artists, right? If you're a science project artist, then you should have science project conversations. If you're an authentic artist who spills your emotion and whether it's rage or happiness or sorrow, whatever it is, then you allow that artist to do what they do.
Also, I do want to give a quick trigger warning just for anyone who might be sensitive to topics like violence, rape, and homophobic slurs, because a lot of Tyler's older music contains a lot of those references. He wasn't always the flower boy we may consider him to be today. Tyler was pretty edgy back in the day. Christmas Day 2009. Tyler, the Creator, was still sleeping on his grandmother's couch when he released his first ever LP to an audience of about 46 people.
My father's dead, why I don't know, we'll never fucking meet. I cut my wrist and play piano cause I'm so depressed. Somebody called a pastor, this bastard is so possessed.
Entirely self-produced by the 17-year-old in FL Studio, Bastard was harrowing, brimming with gritty instrumentals and shocking lyrics that left mothers all over the world clutching pearls. His goal was to sound as outrageous as possible and get a reaction from anyone who had ears, which he achieved by seasoning his verses with violence, rape, unabashed homophobia, and misogyny. One song even being sung from the perspective of Ted Bundy.
A wealthy white girl without the facelift, lure with expensive dinners and a nice bracelet. Leave the bitch breathless, but what the bitch don't know is that I'm a motherfucking sellout and a rapist.
Safe to say he met his goal of pissing people off. But while drawing from inspirations like Eminem, Clips, and others, Tyler managed to maintain a hint of authenticity behind the brazen shock value. See, the Bastard storyline centered on Tyler's therapy sessions between him and the fictional Dr. TC, a representation of Tyler's conscience.
Tyler, hi, I'm Dr. TC, and I'm guessing that your teacher sent you here to talk because you were misbehaving. Tell me something about yourself.
It was thanks to these made-up characters and dark storylines that allowed Tyler to reveal some genuine feelings of teenage angst I think a lot of us have felt at some point or another. On the surface, Bastard may have seemed like demented and unhinged nothingness, when in reality, it was an outlet for Tyler to explore new sounds and unpack the authentic internal issues plaguing his adolescence in the process. The title track consists of an unnerving dialogue as Dr. TC attempts to unravel the anger Tyler feels towards the world. The line,
"This is what the devil plays before he goes to sleep,"
actually says a lot about Tyler's attention to detail, believe it or not. The eerie piano chord we hear looping throughout the instrumental is known as the Devil's Tritone, a melody so sinister and unsettling. It's been historically associated with death and deemed the sound of Satan by the Catholic Church hundreds of years ago. With Tyler's fascination of satanic symbolism, along with his disdain for religion as a whole, I think it's pretty unlikely he did this as an accident.
"This meeting just begun, nigga, I'm Satan's son."
Tyler has always been such a troll that he intentionally blurs the line between where the jokes end and his genuine feelings begin, especially on Bastard, with tracks like Pigs Fly and Tina being about as tongue-in-cheek as you can get.
"Eat my ass with my balls, bitch, I'm in the fucking mall with my niggas eating ham." Yo.
But in spite of moments like these, the absence of Tyler's father remains a heavy underlying theme of the album, with the project coming to a dramatic conclusion on the final track, Inglorious, where Tyler reflects on being raised a fatherless child, a bastard in his own words.
You're a good kid, just misguided. Is there anything else you want to say before we end this?
Unlike the bulk of Bastard, Inglorious is heartfelt and direct in its messaging. The clearest instance of Tyler opening up on a track thus far, with the song finally climaxing at the end with these words.
"Now this counselor is trying to tell me that I'm evil. She don't give a fuck. Dealer, where's the trigger? I'll let this bullet play hero."
Despite leaving his music heavily up to interpretation, to me, this seems to imply that Tyler wishes he could rid the world of himself, or maybe just the part of himself he hates, yet ultimately refuses to go through with it, as evident by the opening bars of his next album.
addicts arise. When I arrive in this
The more I've listened to Bastard, the more elements I've begun to notice, with Tyler's technical genius bleeding through even on songs like Blow and Ass Milk, where he used GarageBand default sounds to construct melodies that still sound fresh to this day. A lot of these lyrics were written on a few pairs of brown pants somewhere. I didn't have a phone at the time, but I kept markers on me so verses would get scribbled onto anything I could find. Much like the Odd Future tape, the DIY feel of Bastard is what made it stand out from most other projects at the time, and was actually ranked number 32 on Pitchfork's top 50 albums of the 2010s list. Slowly but surely, Tyler was starting to make a name of himself. Despite feeling like a black sheep in the industry, more and more people were being forced to recognize his unique style, and that's all he really seemed to care about.
You know, people who really do it themselves, like really do it themselves, who aren't just like, you know, like, yo, check out my YouTube page, this shit is crazy. Like, I mean, like, really, like, I made this album and I put it out and it's fucking something that you can't get somewhere else, and I did it on my own, and I'm not shoving it down your throat, I'm putting it out in the world because, like, I love doing it. Like, that's the real shit. Like, those guys really do that.
Over the course of that next year, members of Odd Future began releasing their own solo records, each one pushing the collective further into the public sphere. Yellow White and Black and White by the duo Mellow Hype, Rolling Papers by Domo Genesis, Alley by Mike G, and Earl by Earl.
Sent to earth to poke Catholics in the ash for sauce and knock blunt ashes into their caskets and laugh it off.
Known for its depraved lyrics and noisy instrumentals, Earl Sweatshirt's debut mixtape was released when he was just 16 years old. Produced almost entirely by Tyler, this particular mixtape is considered a cornerstone of Odd Future's inevitable rise and heavily contributed to the group's contentious reputation, mostly thanks to the bars laid in the title track itself.
Earl puts the ass in assassin and puts the pieces of decomposing bodies in plastic and puts them in a pan and mixes it up with scat, then gobbles it like fat black bitches and catfish.
The collective of young artists became increasingly hard to overlook. Heavyweights in the music industry were finally starting to give them the time of day, as it became popular to draw comparisons between Odd Future and the many rap groups to come before them.
When we're talking to people, I describe you guys as like the next Wu-Tang.
Oh, well, we're not the next fucking Wu-Tang. We're Odd Future, dead ass. That's really fucking annoying.
Let me explain why. Because I feel like all you guys
I know why. We're not Wu-Tang. They're old as fuck. It's a fucking difference.
That's what media does. They compare shit. Wanna, you know, like when Tyson first came out, I remember people saying he reminds me of a young Joe Frazier. They always gotta compare something to something to give you a scale, so to speak, in your mind. You know what I mean?
I see the similarities, I guess, because it's like 30 motherfuckers, but we're not the next Wu-Tang. We're Odd Future.
And all of you have your own unique deals. And I think business-wise, it's smart. The fuck is he talking about?
I don't know.
If I was Odd Future, I wouldn't want to be compared to anybody.
But little did anyone know, a much bigger project was around the corner. Angrier, darker, and arguably one of Tyler's most infamous and controversial pieces yet. Piercing instrumental laced with an array of shrieking synths, Yonkers was a game changer.
I'm a fucking walking paradox. No, I'm not. Threesomes with a fucking triceratops. Reptar, rapping as I'm mocking deaf rock stars, wearing synthetic wigs made of Anwars, dreadlocks.
Tyler's self-directed video depicts him sitting alone on a stool, with the tilt-shift lens flickering in and out of focus as he lays the contentious bars that would soon put him on the map.
Jesus called, he said he's sick of the disses. I told him to quit bitching, it says in a fucking hotline.
Brutally dissing popular artists by detailing how he would violently end each of their lives.
I'll crash that fucking airplane at that faggot nigga Bob is in and stab Bruno Mars in his goddamn esophagus and won't stop until the cops come in.
As far as mainstream hip-hop was concerned, Yonkers came completely out of left field and predictably pissed off a lot of people.
Were you surprised when B.O.B. came back as hard at you as he did?
As hard?
We call that hard?
You see the shit I gotta deal with
from these beginners. I ain't circusing around with these clown ass niggas.
It sounds like he took your shit personal.
Nah, he did. I was actually surprised. I'm not gonna front. When I heard it, I was like, wow, this nigga's getting off. Oh my gosh. I hate that Airplane song.
Me too.
And the fact that
Me
he
too.
made a whole diss track just because some nobody said his name made me feel like I won.
Exactly.
But the song wasn't actually about pregnant golden retrievers or physically stabbing Bruno Mars in his esophagus. It was partly Tyler lashing out against everything he and Odd Future stood against. The polished, boring derivativeness of the modern music industry.
This Wolf Haley guy is the guy that I really want to be. He's just wild. He doesn't really, he's just fucking crazy. He wears those cool ass shorts and the cool ass button ups and shit. And that's me talking to him and him just taking over my fucking head. That whole song. Every line that I say is like contradicting itself. Green paper, gold teeth, and pregnant gold retrievers is all I want. And then I say, no, fuck money, diamonds and bitches don't need them. Those are basically the same things in different words. Like a bitch is a pregnant dog. That's a pregnant gold retriever. Like I contradict myself. And that's me saying, no, I don't want that. But Wolf Haley is saying, yeah, you do. It's just a big mind fuck.
Despite the manic character he may flaunt in public, Tyler very much knew what he was doing and sought to bring his creativity to the forefront of the discussion by any means necessary, even if that meant eating an actual cockroach and pretending to hang himself at the end of the video. Yonkers was sure to leave an impression on anyone who witnessed it, with its visual and lyrical shock value sending ripples throughout the musical landscape, even being dubbed the best video of the year by Kanye West. In short, this is the song that made Tyler famous. His deep, booming voice and deadpan flow may have set him apart from the rest, but it was the sheer enthusiasm he showed for his own work that seemed to resonate with his new audience the most. His sound was fresh and his personality was infectious. Finally, his many talents were being recognized by millions of people. All good signs for an artist on the verge of self-releasing his next highly anticipated project.
Goblin, an album. Tell us what can we expect?
Some movie type shit. Every album is like a movie. So if you listen to Bastard, the whole thing, and then go into Goblin, it's crazy.
But because we're about to be copyright claimed like you wouldn't believe by our greedy corporate overlords, I want to thank the good people over at Display for sponsoring this video. Display offers one-of-a-kind metal posters, complete with a sturdy magnet mount and a sleek, matte, or glossy finish, durable enough to withstand a lifetime of intense staring. I mean, what else do you do with a poster? And because they're magnetic, you can collect, customize, and rearrange them with ease. No power tools or frustration involved. Enjoy their 800,000 designs ranging from sports, manga, history, comics, minions, movies, music. There's even a good amount of Tyler posters I wouldn't mind owning myself. I mean, I got a Kanye one, but that's besides the point. Feel free to click the link in the description below to get 1 to 2 displays at 31% off or over 3 for 38% off. Not only does every poster you buy help the channel, but also goes to plant a tree in Tanzania. 2 equally good deeds for the price of 1. Huge thanks to Display for making up for all the money UMG has so cruelly robbed me of.
Our next guests are turning heads in the hip-hop world, and tonight they're making their TV debut with us, performing the song Sandwiches with a little help from the Roots. Please welcome Tyler, the Creator, and Haji Beats from Odd Future!
19-year-old Tyler made his television debut alongside Haji Beats just days after Yonkers dropped on YouTube, battering an audience of baby boomers with a marginally noisy performance they'd never forget. At the time, Odd Future was still obscure enough that booking them on a major network like NBC was considered a highly risky move. If you knew anything about Tyler, the last place you'd expect to see him was on stage next to Jimmy Fallon, of all people. I saw Odd Future on the schedule, and my first thought was that there must have been some other Brooklyn rock band with the same name. There's no way it was that Odd Future, cited the Roots frontman Questlove. I knew this was either going to be our paradigm shift or the end of the Fallon show. But those unpredictable, dangerous circumstances are what led to such a memorable performance. See, this was more than just a typical late night appearance. This was Tyler cementing his spot in the musical space and pointing a mainstream spotlight onto the previously overlooked corners of internet culture. A signal to young artists all over the world that generating enough online popularity was all you needed in order to craft a legacy for yourself. At this point, Tyler had not only given himself enough leverage to land a set on late night TV, but record a feature with rap legend Pusha T and even sign a record deal with XL Recordings, leading to the contentious release of Goblin. Goblin somehow managed to be even more problematic than its predecessor.
Satan's getting jealous of the wolves, the demons say they preferring us.
Equipped with another myriad of questionable ethics and unmitigated vulgarity, some of the major keynotes of Goblin include, but are not limited to,
Satan, oral sex, murder, decapitation, rape, racism, Asian water torture, homophobia, lesbians, raping pregnant women, threesomes with an unborn child, amputation, breaking and entering, Parkinson's disorder, Nazis, the F-slur, and a lot of swear words.
I mean, truly some of Tyler's crudest and most jaw-dropping material to date, interspersed with him venting to a shrink about his darkest thoughts and feelings.
It's been a while since our last session, so tell me what's been going on.
I'm not a fucking role model.
I know this.
I'm a 19-year-old fucking emotional coaster with pipe dreams.
See, this wasn't all just hollow shock value. The title track was Tyler grappling with his recent rise to stardom, touching on the sudden intense pressure he now feels as a major public figure during the album's 6-minute introduction.
I'm getting these weird stares at skate parks and airports, all in the air, it's weird.
It's clear he doesn't consider himself anyone to be looked up to. He barely considers himself a real rapper. Despite being grateful for it, the unexpected success of Yonkers was still a jarring enough concept for any artist as young and inexperienced as Tyler was. And this album just encapsulated those feelings of trepidation while containing a lot of the same edginess as Bastard. With tracks like Radicals repeating the rebellious mantra, "Kill people, burn shit, fuck school. Kill people, burn shit, fuck school. Fucking radical, nigga, fucking radical." It was absolutely anarchist in its presentation. Tron Cap being maybe the most deplorable shit I've heard to this day.
Honey, you're my sister. Honey, on that something when I stuffed you with my sister. I fucking played the picture to my first. You got a fucking death wish.
I'm a genie, it'll get done.
Hard to believe this is the same guy who made the Grinch soundtrack not even 10 years later. For a casual listener of Tyler the Creator, lyrics like these may seem wildly out of character. And although many of these themes are still weird and difficult to listen to today, the majority of it was just
fucking fiction,
in the words of the man who wrote them. And I'd say that's at least something to keep in mind when considering decade-old narratives.
Hey, don't do anything that I say in this song. Okay? It's fucking fiction. If anything happens, don't fucking blame me, white America. Fuck Bill O'Reilly.
His liberal use of homophobic slurs is what especially infuriated audiences. In quiet, his freestyling about having gay sex.
Me and Flex looking in the index for buff net niggas just for some hot butt sex.
What made you go with that verse?
I don't...
What made you with that verse?
And even dedicating an entire album to a male love interest, the homophobic hate speech laid out on Goblin starts to feel more like a closeted teen afraid of coming to terms with a key part of his identity, opening up about his suppressed sexuality as the years went on.
Ain't no reason to pretend. Goblin shit for the ghost songs and feelings that I was gone in.
Without dismissing the harmful effects of vile rhetoric, I think it's important to acknowledge the intent intent behind Tyler's words and realized that these lyrics in particular were more than likely coming from feelings of insecurity and self-rejection rather than a place of outright hatred. Tyler's first 3 projects all circulate around the fictional character Wolf Haley, Tyler's alter ego who embodies the darkest and most extreme corners of his psyche. When Tyler raps on Goblin, it's actually from the perspective of Wolf. Kinda edgy, but this was just a 19-year-old's way of expressing himself without being too serious, which really starts to paint a more three-dimensional picture of the young entertainer, too commonly written off as nothing more than a horrorcore shock artist. The track Window depicts an intervention called on by members of Odd Future, where each individual takes turns providing a window into their mental state as they seek to help Tyler with his, which of course just ends with him canonically murdering all of his friends in cold blood. Maybe we're starting to see why Tyler, or Wolf, is in therapy to begin with. Finally, we end on the track Golden, where he provides yet another authentic look into his newfound fame, working alongside childhood friends and coping with the absence of his best friend, Earl.
Niggas saying free Earl without even knowing him. See, they're missing the new album. I'm missing my only friend.
The track concludes with Dr. TC confirming that the characters Ace, Wolf Haley, and Tron Cat were nothing more than various embodiments of Tyler's subconscious. Dr. TC with his voice of reason, for example, whereas Tron Cat was the one telling him to go out and kill people. It all fits within the narrative that would later be continued on his 3rd album, Wolf. But as Goblin debuted at number 5 on the Billboard Top 200s, his mainstream appeal had never been stronger, receiving wide critical acclaim on the album he later called horrible. But I don't know, it still got some merit in my eyes. 10 years later, and I still have yet to hear a better song name than Bitch Suck Dick. By the time the second Odd Future tape dropped in 2012, Earl had returned from Samoan boarding school, Frank was paving the way for a new era of soul music, and Tyler had just won Best New Artist at the 2011 VMAs.
For Best New Artist goes to
Tyler the Creator.
Odd Future had become its own record label and began to expand their reach beyond music, with Tyler releasing his own fashion line Golf Wang and blasting the antics of his friends across television wavelengths with their own sketch comedy show Loiter Squad.
I love Charles, and when I pass, I'ma see him at the gate, and I'ma have a little something for him if he don't have my money. So, thank you, Charles.
Airing from 2012 to 2014, the 15-minute Adult Swim program gave each member of Odd Future a chance to show off their acting chops, starring alongside the likes of Johnny Knoxville, Seth Rogen, and Lil Wayne for some reason.
I'm enjoying this more than
No,
you
don't
are.
enjoy it!
No, please.
Stop enjoying it!
Wait. Here, I'll stop resisting.
Are you still enjoying it?
Just tie me up.
Are you still enjoying it?
Yes.
Stop enjoying it! I'm kind of enjoying it too.
Essentially, this was just a big production studio telling Tyler, yeah, do whatever you want, just make us money. The booming success of Loiter Squad further defined the talents of Odd Future and proved Tyler to be more than just a one-trick pony. Apart from making pretty good music, he was also extremely likable.
Hi, Tyler.
Hi.
Are you fighting the urge to make out with me right now?
Not really. I'm really into this pizza, though.
Fans were no longer just drawn to his provocative verses, they were also entranced by his sense of humor and natural charisma. Tens of thousands were flocking to the group's music festival Camp Flogna, an anagram for Wolfgang. Featuring guest appearances from the most popular artists of the day, the annual festival is still hosted today in front of the Dodgers Stadium and was effective in making Tyler out to be the visionary he was. Clearly more complex than the angry, depraved persona he liked to play up, Tyler the Creator soon became amongst the biggest anomalies in modern-day rap. Things were moving rapidly for the 20-year-old, forcing Tyler to mature faster than ever before, which only meant his music was about to mature with him. Tyler continued the trend of releasing a new project every 2 years with his 2013 Wolf in April of that year, abrupting his previous tendency of gritty, unnerving production with a clean and surprisingly elegant jazz composition complemented by dainty chimes before hearing a raspy
Fuck.
The lyrics seem to depict Tyler speaking once again from the perspective of his alter egos, with the album's main antagonist Sam expressing a disdain for Wolf Haley, involved in a love triangle with a girl named Salem. It's established that these characters are actually 3 students attending the fictional Camp Flog Gnaw.
You guys have fun.
So you guys are in the jazz?
Look, Wolf, Prairie Dog, Ronzel, whatever the fuck your name is, we don't fuck with you or anybody else here, alright?
The lore of Tyler's albums, specifically on these 3, is pretty convoluted, I'm not gonna lie to you. But it makes me wonder how anyone can stand to write him off as just another rapper without acknowledging his clear knack for storytelling. Being tapped to write and direct a few of his own Mountain Dew commercials that year, though not without a fair bout of controversy, of course.
Who exactly is Felicia the Goat? I did this commercial. I did some commercials with Mountain Dew, and that was the main character, and I just ran with it.
Tell us your commercial idea, and I was like, all right, so it's a fucking goat, right? It's a goat, and he gonna drink the fucking Mountain Dew, and he gonna yell at the lady, and then the cops gonna pull him over, and then he gonna be in jail, and then he gonna do PCP.
The now banned commercials were met with boisterous claims of racism and misogyny by their critics, which in turn only fueled the flame for Tyler's burning creative desires.
So what was racist about it?
What was racist about it?
I did 4 commercials. It was a story arc. First commercial, the goat has Mountain Dew and he likes it so much he goes crazy. He pushes the lady on the ground. The second commercial was the lady at the police station looking at a lineup of people saying that was the goat that pushed me in the restaurant, right? Now, in the lineup, I used a bunch of my friends. They happen to be African American. None of these guys have records. These are all good dudes who I've been working with.
Who are playing a part. You put your friends
playing his characters. Boyce Watkins saw that and said, this is the most racist commercial ever. People start picking up this story saying, is this the most racist commercial ever? It got big. The Mountain Dew guys are seeing this like, whoa, we don't want to have this heat on us. Hey, we're sorry that we even put this commercial out, blah, blah, blah. No more Tyler. Cut. I was like, what the fuck?
Did you see that amazing Mountain Dew commercial he did? The one that got banned?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was the best thing that had happened in like the past year. It was the best thing. You know what should be banned? Stuff that's whack.
Much like his idols, Tyler the Creator is not one to be placed in a box. And although he may have been dropped by Mountain Dew as a result of the hit pieces, he continued to stand by his own art and wasn't about to repress his vision for anyone.
I'm 21 years old, like excited that I could fucking worry about how the orange is in contrast with the green in this commercial at the coloring session. And now this turned into a big negative debate. Like, it fucked my spirit up so much.
Wolf was the first real turning point in Tyler's discography. Throwing the references of rape and serial killing out the window, Wolf embodied Tyler's growing maturity both narratively and on a musical level. For example, this was his first project to be recorded and mixed in an actual studio instead of his laptop, leading to an overall more polished and lush appearance. Frankly, Tyler was sick of the violent themes he previously exhibited on Goblin, even straight up denouncing parts of them in later interviews. He was in a completely new stage of his life. He was hanging out with his childhood idols and making tons of money, working day and night to create all kinds of new content for his fans. Being the huge music nerd he is, he finally let the edgy shtick take a back seat and focus more on the actual sound of his work.
Basically, this whole album is just me emulating the music I listen to. So like, when you hear fucking Tree Home 95, like, I know some people hated that shit on Jimmy Fallon, but I listen to Stevie Wonder and Isaac Hayes, like that's all I listen to. So when you see me on the piano playing fucking chords and shit, like I'm just trying to emulate what I grew up listening to, and fucking having the Roots, watching the Roots play my bass lines and my fucking bells and shit was the tightest shit in the fucking world.
But drifting away from his past self meant coming to terms with the reality of not being able to please the entirety of his growing fan base. He knew that no matter what direction he took, he would always receive disdain from half his audience. Ultimately, he wanted to stay true to himself while climbing out of the hole he dug with his previous work. It wasn't going to be easy, but it was a risk he needed to take if he ever wanted to reach new heights heights.
Bitch must think I'm a motherfucking dummy. Because I just bummy, bitch think I'm broke. Bitch, I ate one roach and I made a lot of money.
In many ways, Wolf was like the perfect middle ground between the roughness of Goblin and the softer, mellow chords we'd later hear on 2017's Flower Boy, with anthems like Tamales still reminiscent of his early Odd Future days.
The sound come down since the last album. Woman, my dick, how does that sound? I smell my Gucci, you can kiss my buns. And I don't give a shit, bend my rectums.
While IFHY and Domo 23 might have been certified bangers, Tyler also took more of a genuine approach on the song Colossus, where he describes a real interaction with a supposed crazed fan he met at Six Flags.
Can we get a pic? I said no. And they said, oh, it's Wolfgang Yonkers. Goblin is my shit though. Now
Tyler is finally being forced to come to terms with his status as an icon, caught between wanting to enjoy his life as a normal person while not being perceived as a jerk in front of the ones who support his work. Just like most of the other instrumentals on here, this beat is surprisingly grandiose and celestial. Citing Stevie Wonder and Tame Impala as major inspirations, their influences can be heard everywhere across the album's hour-long runtime, specifically on the track Answer. Answer puts a microscope on several previous relationships Tyler still longs for, each verse focusing on a different individual, a past crush, his late grandmother, and of course, his absentee father.
Are you mad at him that he deserted the family?
Nah, dude, I'm stoked. I think if I had a dad, I would have went the normal college route and like a lot of other people.
So you're not angry at him?
I'm so stoked my life panned out how it was.
Dad is nowhere to be seen or found.
Nah, I'm my own father. Yeah.
How does that feel?
It's whatever. I got over it. It kind of sucked lying to friends after a couple years, like, oh, my dad's on a business trip and shit, but it's like whatever. I don't give a fuck. I got over it.
After previously lambasting his dad on Bastard and Goblin, Tyler seems to hold a whole new attitude towards the father he once cursed, and is now ruminating on how his abandonment shaped his career as one of the world's biggest performers.
Hey dad, it's me, oh, I'm Tyler. I think I be your son.
Tyler is grappling between the reality of being rejected while still feeling weirdly grateful that everything turned out okay in spite of the trauma. It's a complicated mixture of emotions that he wants us to sympathize with, even momentarily. It's instances like these that separate Wolf from its abrasive predecessors. Instead of lashing out against the world, Tyler is looking into himself for answers as to why he feels the way he does, in hopes that someone out there may be able to relate to his pain. The final track, Lone, is a vulnerable testimony of his grandmother's recent passing, as Tyler expresses feelings of grief and opens up to his therapist about wanting to disappear from the spotlight, even if that means quitting music altogether. Wolf ended up charting at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 200, receiving immense critical praise for a level of emotional depth we hadn't previously seen. Pitchfork's Craig Jenkins writing, Tyler the Creator displays a radical growth as a producer, composer, and arranger, even if as a rapper he's still up to some of the same antics. If you ask me, the summer camp setting of Wolf is a testament to where Tyler must have been mentally by the time the album dropped.
And where the setting of Wolf is a lakeside camp, Tyler's previous work was more like a dungeon. From dark, minimalistic beats to single-minded, isolated songwriting based in anger and sadness, Tyler's early music came from a place of suffering. On Wolf, that anger and sadness is still there, but it's dissipating like fog over a lake in the early morning.
By opening up the way he did on Wolf, Tyler appeared to have finally reached a level of peace and self-acceptance he so desperately deserved.
So tell me, are you kind of shocked and amazed at what kind of a buzz you've created?
Sure. That's a question. I don't know.
In the meantime, the rest of Odd Future was hard at work perfecting their own respected careers. Frank Ocean's soulful Channel Orange undeniably added to the group's surmounting credibility by being nominated for Album of the Year in 2012. Not to mention it allowed Frank's friends Tyler and Earl Sweatshirt to showcase their profound skills on a much grander scale, leading up to Earl's 2013 commercial debut, Doris.
The blood and mice in the trap, 2 black
for the white kids and too white for the blacks from honor.
Partially produced by Frank and Tyler themselves, Doris was a fascinating first look at Earl since his controversial mixtape Pre-Boarding School, and featured a lot more retrospection than we had ever seen from the 19-year-old. While other groups like Mellow Hype and the internet saw a good amount of acclaim on their own, it seemed nearly all of Odd Future was demonstrating a new sense of growing maturity. Everyone was excited to finally explore the sounds they had always wanted to produce, and going into the mid-2010s, Tyler was more confident than ever before, leading to perhaps his most dynamic and colorful venture to date.
I had a show New Year's 2015, and I haven't came out with music in a while.
Damn, finally you gonna drop a new album.
That show fucking sucked dick. That shit was trash. What none of these kids knew was that I was halfway done with a brand new album. Excuse me, mister, but can you please turn down the lights?
Cherry Bomb was a shocking, explosive journey of experimental rap, bright sounds, and unpredictable glory. Borrowing from the abrasive style of Death Grips and Kanye West's Yeezus, Tyler cited a slew of major inspirations from Pharrell's former band NERD, right down to the album's avant-garde intro, Death Camp. Weirdly enough, this is the first time the opening track name doesn't correspond with the album itself, which just goes to represent Cherry Bomb's overwhelming deviation from Tyler's past work. See, Tyler knows he's reached a point where he can no longer expect to please all of his fans, so Cherry Bomb is just him throwing all caution to the wind and not caring so much about the outcome, exchanging his commercial appeal for the more abstract sounds that actually interested him as a music lover. Despite being panned by critics on its initial release, Cherry Bomb was revered by Tyler as his personal favorite album. The following three tracks, Buffalo, Pilot, and Run, all encapsulated the unique feel Tyler was aiming for, songs that most hip-hop heads were not fully accustomed to by 2015.
God, goodness gracious, I can't wait to see the look on y'all niggas' faces. That boy T-Nut surprises thoughts and chafing and fucking crackers up at Mountain Dew niggas. Racist.
With figures like Drake, Young Thug, and Future smashing records in their own respected circles of hip-hop, the nostalgic pop-punk atmosphere of Cherry Bomb was nowhere near the expectations people had for rap at the time. It set Tyler apart from the rest, just maybe not in the way he had hoped.
Everyone hated it, except for like real music lover who cares about drums. Like I opened a rap album with a rock song.
Yeah.
Most niggas is like, ugh. And then Buffalo comes, you can barely hear what I'm saying. Then Pilot comes and it's this 80s music, so they're out because they want rap. Then Run comes, doom, doom, they don't know. And then Find Your Wings come and it's like, okay, this is chill. Then Cherry Bomb just punches them. So they're out and a lot of people didn't know how to take it.
This album was a new type of polarizing. Although his subject matter was no longer as controversial, his sounds definitely were, dividing music fans with songs that contained Tyler's almost incomprehensible vocals drowned out almost completely under an array of heavily distorted guitar riffs. Some loved it, others couldn't stand it. Regardless, it was all part of his vision. He still knew how to mix and produce beautiful instrumentals just as he did on Wolf, he just didn't always want to be seen as predictable or trite. But the wailing synths of Keep the O's, for example, juxtaposed next to the angelic, jazzy tones of fucking Young, may have been a testament to Tyler's duality as an artist. Find Your Wings is one of the most graceful tracks he's ever made, with Sid and Caliucci's smooth, mesmerizing vocals working to illustrate the main theme of Cherry Bomb, finding what you're good at, taking control of your life, and flourishing.
I think what I admire most about Tyler, how dedicated he is, how much he really wants to make something meaningful that's going to be lasting rather than make something that, you know, will get to radio or will be something that people listen to right now and then maybe goes away later. I don't think he's ever really cared about trends or he just kind of follows what he wants to do and he works really hard.
It's 8 p.m. I'm about to record at Hans Zimmer studio. I'm a little nervous because this is my first time with an actual string section, but I know it's gonna be tight as fuck. Trust me, a
lot of thought was put into this.
From Pharrell and Charlie Wilson to Schoolboy Q and Lil Wayne, Cherry Bomb was also a massive collaborative project featuring impressive guest appearances on all but one track, Smuckers quickly becoming a cult favorite.
That's the owner, and the Lexus pull up, like what? Nah, what's up? Is that back? Nigga, you suck. Let's stop it. I gotta figure that shit out, nigga.
I see you trying to figure it out.
Tyler was finally at a level where he could easily work alongside some of his biggest inspirations, mostly because he had since become amongst their biggest inspirations.
First of all, Tyler changed the game. Maybe I probably had a line that I knew I wouldn't say because people might think it was too gross to put in the rap. It didn't go with the vibe of the song, but I think about, man, Tyler say this shit. Also, he really be spitting though. If niggas not listening to him and only hearing him, they need to do the other. They need to listen, because hearing and listening is two different things.
But that's one of your jobs in hip hop. I don't think it would have been a Yeezus if it wasn't for you. I don't think it would have been like this verse right here if it wasn't for you. It's like, or the shit that Wayne just did.
So Tyler inspired the album that later inspired him to make Cherry Bomb in a weird sort of way.
Tyler, the Creator.
Artist and a good mentor. He helped me out with some of the merch. He came in and was like, okay, these are the principles, because he's so talented and understands things because he went to film school, and that I don't. I literally would like email him and be like, man, can you teach me how to make videos?
Tyler also developed an unlikely friendship with East Coast rapper A$AP Rocky. Despite the previous tension between the up-and-coming A$AP Mob and Odd Future during the early 2010s, Tyler and Rocky took a brotherly liking to each other and planned a joint tour following the release of Cherry Bomb. If only Tyler hadn't been barred from entering the United Kingdom as per request of the Home Secretary and future Prime Minister Theresa May. Because I guess this guy was a fucking terrorist.
Theresa May supposedly cited lyrics from Tyler's early album Bastard as part of the reason for his ban, saying that it encouraged violence and intolerance of homosexuality and fosters hatred with views that seek to provoke terrorist acts. Well, that's this video demonetized.
Tyler had no choice but to cancel tour dates after being retroactively banned from the UK, New Zealand, and Australia for his questionable lyrics of years past. Being quick to acknowledge the hypocrisy of these governmental decisions by questioning how an artist as problematic as Eminem receives no travel bans whatsoever. Not that he should, of course, but the double standard was glaring, as if there were more sinister motives at play behind the scenes. Tyler has always been understandably frustrated with the older generation's misinformed view of the narratives played out in his songwriting.
Okay, now what about your lyrics?
What about them?
What are you saying in your lyrics?
Nothing. Shit to piss old white people off like you. My lyrics aren't offensive.
Aren't they?
No.
Some people find them offensive, don't they? You've
Yeah,
heard that
some
before.
people find everything offensive. Okay.
But the fact that this decision came 4 years and 2 albums after the contemptible lyrics were ever spewed made even less sense to Tyler. No artist likes their work being stifled or misinterpreted. He wanted to stick it to everyone who hated his guts, whether that was through his music on Cherry Bomb or a lengthy Tumblr post reclaiming a white power hate symbol while mocking both racists and homophobes in the process. Tyler has always sought to push boundaries, even if his intent wasn't always received the way he wanted, later claiming his entire career was put on the line for the experimental and brash sounds the project contained. In his own words, everyone hated it, and if he wanted to stay afloat in the industry, he needed to craft his own path to success once more, going against the grain and staying true to his values in a way mass audiences could enjoy, which is right where Flower Boy bloomed. If anyone thought they had Tyler, the Creator, figured out after Cherry Bomb, they quickly realized they were wrong. Throwing his audience for a loop once more, Tyler dropped his 4th studio album over the summer of 2017, alternatively titled Scum Flower Boy. This one blew his previous projects out of the water as his most intimate yet. An emotionally charged roller coaster from start to finish, with its thoughtful characteristics serving as a stark contrast from the abrasiveness of Cherry Bomb.
It's like gut-wrenching. It's both beautiful, it's very beautiful, but it's like parts that hurt a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, I was like, because for Cherry Bomb, I purposely was like, I don't want to get personal at all. Like, I'm gonna just make songs.
Yeah.
It's just all this is a song. And in this one, I was like, all right, let me write down every feeling.
This was far from the first time Tyler had poured his emotions out on a record, but this was the first time he had done it so brazenly. It seemed he was no longer shrouding parts of his personality in fictional alter egos, and instead, he had finally found a way to liberate his inner self and simultaneously redeem a faltering reputation with the lush chords and thoughtful lyrics peppered throughout the track list. And considering all the accolades it later garnered, it's not unreasonable to say Flower Boy may have single-handedly revived Tyler's career. The album kicks off with a bassy introduction as Tyler begins to ruminate on all the material items available to him now that he's rich and famous.
How many cars can I buy till I run out of drive? How much drive can I have until I run out of road?
And what it will take for them to all become tired and useless. Complemented by a feature from indie artist Rex Orange County, Forward sets the tone for an introspective exploration into the costly sacrifices of Tyler's passion for success. What's the point of even having all these things if they're just gonna leave him feeling incomplete in the end? More importantly, what will it take for Tyler to finally lose the inspiration he has to make music? If he's self-conscious enough to realize the emptiness of diamonds and riches, then what's going to stop him from ending this unfulfilling cycle altogether? Tyler's vulnerability becomes pretty apparent right off the bat, with the following track reminiscing on his life pre-fame, featuring a fitting performance from Frank Ocean, one of Tyler's earliest friends in the industry.
Let's take it back to them date, counting sheep on say they hand afloat.
As the next 2 verses shift away from the nostalgia, we hear Tyler focusing more on his growth and development as an artist, once dismissed by the industry he now dominates.
Oh, this ice, shit weighs a ton. Water your garden, my nigga. These niggas tell these black kids they could be who they are. Tell these black kids they could be who they are. Dye your hair blue, shit, I'll do it too. Look, I smell like Chanel. I never mark up with my manicure nails.
Not to mention his bravery for showcasing a sense of femininity, breaking the very stigmas he was once accused of perpetuating.
Run it, run it, run it, run it.
Do what you want and f*** everyone else. As long as something makes you fulfilled, that's ultimately all that matters. The overall message of Flower Boy is to encourage others to accept themselves, no matter the circumstances or consequences. Tyler leading by example on Garden Shed, a song which I would argue is his most vulnerable to date.
Got shit for the guardian. That is why I was hot then. That was real love I was in. Ain't no reason to pretend. Got shit, put up got sounds and the feeling that I was hot then.
Some ethereal chords infused with Estelle's mellow vocals, Garden Shed is a dreamy listen with a heavy message.
You don't have to hide. I can smell it in your eyes.
The garden shed he talks about seems to represent a hiding place in which Tyler was concealing his suppressed sexuality all these years. With the infamous closet metaphor seemingly exchanged for a garden shed, Tyler is hinting at his authentic identity without openly saying it, using a derogatory term for a gay man and garçons being the French word for boys. It's an especially intimate verse that seems to carry a lot more weight when you consider all the jokes Tyler has made regarding his sexuality in the past. The hints were always there, we just never took him seriously. As we all know by now, Tyler very much plays by his own rules, and his indirect approach to coming out on Flower Boy directly reflects those rebellious values. There's never a right or wrong way to share such an intimate and defining trait about yourself, which is exactly the message Tyler seems to be sending by only subtly alluding to his sexuality homosexuality rather than outright declaring it. It's not like he owes us anything either. He doesn't need to explain himself. He only wants to express himself.
You think we'll ever have a gay rap artist?
Maybe one day. That would be, but that's like, why does that shit matter?
I know.
Like, if he want to fuck dudes or whatever, why does that matter? Like, why do we care?
I've never figured that out.
That's so fucking crazy, right?
It's these kinds of intimate testimonies that make Flower Boy so special for so many people. Literally every track is a new invitation into Tyler's headspace. Pothole with Jaden Smith warns of the obstacles and fake individuals to avoid, while Boredom with Rex focuses on isolation. And 911 Mr. Lonely is all about, just about what the title implies. Continuing Tyler's trend of the 10th song on every album being split in two, the first half of the track is noticeably more upbeat than the latter half, when we hear his lyrics suddenly shift to a more depressingly honest tone. He asserts that the public hardly ever gets a real glance into his real self because of all the dancing he does to throw us off.
I'm the loneliest man alive, but I keep on dancing to throw him off.
A gut-wrenching reminder that there's still a deeper side of Tyler we rarely get to see as fans. One that may not match the attitude he plays up when the cameras are rolling. The 911 refers to how Tyler only feels people call him when they have an emergency or when they need something from him, further underlining the theme of isolation woven throughout the track list. Perhaps the most famous song on the project, See You Again, depicting Tyler as a hopeless romantic who longs for an individual he only gets to visit in his dreams.
I said I'm sick of chasing. You're the one that's always running through my daydream. And I can only see your face when I close my eyes. I said, can I get a kiss?
What is See You Again like? What is that about? Is that still speaking to loneliness? Is it speaking to like the fear
That
of
song
like?
is supposed to literally be about just a dream person. Like, you literally, I only see you in my sleep and in my dreams, but I could never find you. Where are you? And that's what all those things are. And can I get a kiss? Can you make it last forever? I'm about to go to war. I don't know if going to war, that's just, I'm going to wake up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wake up and go to the real world.
I said,
November being a sentimental journey involving Tyler's concerns for his legacy, whether or not he's being screwed by the people he trusts, and longing for a simpler, less fearful time. It's the kind of nostalgia trip everyone can relate to in one way or another, with the 45-minute album finally drawing to a conclusion on the instrumental track Enjoy Right Now Today. Tyler uses simple, joyful sounds to end his magnum opus on a positive note, the lack of lyrics putting more of an emphasis on the message delivered right there in the title, which also happens to match the theme of the project as a whole. Flower Boy debuted at number 2 on Billboard and sold over 100,000 copies its first week, which not only marked a new record for Tyler, but a new era as well.
The Grammy goes to Kendrick Lamar.
He may not have won this time, but by the late 2010s, it was beyond clear Tyler was on a path towards nothing but success, dropping a few singles on his YouTube channel in 2018, where he continued opening up on beats he borrowed from fellow artists.
I was in a garden, couldn't fathom. It was snakes in the grass, but I couldn't grab them. Focus on the eve, now I focus on the green and the trees with binoculars looking for an atom. What's the point of being rich when you wake up alone? What's the point of going home when it ain't nobody there?
His commercial success was reaching a new height, surprisingly being asked to produce the soundtrack for Illumination's 2018 remake of The Grinch.
You're mean one. You really are a heel.
Yeah. This guy working on that movie. Yeah, I don't know either.
Wow, so tell us how you got involved.
So, I'm
honestly, I don't remember how we got involved.
Also got a pretty sick Christmas EP to go along with everything else. Safe to say he was no longer the black sheep he once considered himself.
Whoa. Tyler, the Creator. No, I would love to meet. Oh, I've not met him. Oh my God, I would explode if I met him.
I met him, and it was great.
Tyler fans from all over were now anxiously wondering what could possibly be in store next for the blossoming artist.
Do you ever plan to expand? Do you ever want to do things musically other than rap?
That's the thing. I really want to sing, but my tone of voice is too deep to do what I want. So now I'm just listening to like Isaac Hayes and Barry White and things like that just to see how they use their voice. But I hate rapping only because it puts you in this like, in this box.
You don't want to rap anymore?
I don't. I just want to compose.
So you got famous rapping.
Yeah.
But you're leaving the world of rap, but you've been successful in other areas.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't need rap anymore.
I'm talented enough to do other things.
Sometimes you gotta close the door
to open a window.
Tyler's long-awaited 5th studio album was announced via Twitter on May 6, 2019. Accompanied by some cryptic YouTube uploads of Tyler adorned in a blonde wig and shiny suit, none of us could have prepared for the raw, heartfelt experience we were about to get. By the time it drops, Tyler had one simple request: that we give this project our full, undivided attention. No skips, no distractions, no playing songs out of order. Showcasing an incredible 3-act structure, the synth-heavy neo-soul journey bore more similarities to a musical or even feature-length film than it did a rap album. Beginning with a dramatic 20-second long synth note, before propelling us into the twisted world of Igor. As far as the metaphors go, the character Igor is mostly depicted in Gothic media as the loyal, deformed lab assistant to Dr. Frankenstein. Here, we see Tyler using that archetype to portray himself, in a way that may seem relatively unclear at the project's surface. After all, this is a story about a love triangle between Tyler and a boy, who happens to be seeing both him and a woman at the same time. Igor encapsulates the feelings of grief, happiness, and frustration that come with such a confusing dynamic. Not knowing where the relationship is headed, Tyler longs for a man who refuses to commit to him. The bouncing keys at the end of Igor's theme transition us beautifully into the album's second track, Earthquake. Featuring a beautifully illegible appearance from Playboy Cardi, placed delicately atop Tyler's dreamy piano chords and distorted drums, Earthquake's heavenly sound can be attributed to its impressive layering.
All the songs, he wanted them to be brighter, you know, to really have that dynamic and to be coming right at you. Now, when I put the EQs in, see how it brightens it up? Yeah. And if I take that brightness off, it's dull, see? Doesn't affect you the same way.
With so much happening at once, it's easy to see how Earthquake is Tyler's most successful song at the time of me recording this. Just like Flower Boy, Igor was entirely produced by Tyler himself, giving the record a stronger sense of cohesion and working to elevate the narrative's impact overall.
I wanted to just write pop songs for people, so I kind of did that, but sometimes you got to just write songs with how you feel or whatever, so I just wrote that. And
it's like
it came out really cool.
Earthquake's like a love song. It's like to me, it's like an out and out, straight up love song. And it's the first statement on the record that says like, oh, this album is going to be, it's kind of, there's a lot of open heartedness to this record.
Yeah, very 80s pop, kind of what I was going
idealistic love and idealistic heartbreak.
Yeah.
I guess it's good Justin Bieber and Rihanna both rejected this song because Earthquake effectively introduces us to Igor's situation, with Tyler singing rather than rapping about a boy he feels he can't live without. A lover who just rocked his world much like an earthquake. He's lacking closure though, and without warning, Tyler throws us into the 80s inspired track I Think, whose uneven drum patterns accurately personify personify that very unclear headspace. Despite feelings of uncertainty and a fear of the unknown, I don't know how he does it, but somehow Tyler manages to accurately capture the exact feelings associated with falling in love, and how a new relationship on the horizon can cloud your judgment either for the better or for the worse. Deep down, Tyler knows this relationship is doomed to fail on account of the woman his lover is still involved with. But because his feelings for this person are so strong, it's like he doesn't even care. Tyler is willing to face the inevitable consequences as long as what he's feeling in this moment is real. This is where we see the theme of love first developed on the album. He's so attached to this individual that he's gonna risk everything if it means just the possibility of having a future with them. With the track followed up by the short interlude, exactly what you run from, you end up chasing, it's possible this could also be Tyler reconciling his homosexual thoughts, now chasing the lifestyle he was once accused of hating. He's tired of running from his identity and is finally ready to embrace the ethereal highs and earth-shattering lows of love. But he knows he's running out of time, and if this guy is ever gonna choose Tyler over his girlfriend, he better make up his mind fast. On New Magic Wand, Tyler has had enough of his crush leading him on and needs him to hurry up and make a decision, or else Igor will be forced to take matters into his own hands.
Sometimes you gotta close the door to open a window.
By this point, Tyler is literally begging his lover not to leave, insisting this is all somehow his own fault and that he promises to fix things as long as he chooses to stay. Tyler is finally coming to terms with the reality of the situation and vows to get her out of the picture if it means getting to stay with the boy he loves, even if he has to kill them both in the process. Hence the term New Magic Wand possibly being a metaphor for a gun.
Igor was definitely like all feeling. Woke up in the morning, this is how I felt, made that song, did that for like 2 weeks. And then I was like, oh shit, I have something. It was like 6 songs, 6, 7 songs. I was like, oh my gosh, this is, and that's kind of why it goes into this weird chronological order, because that was how I felt that morning. It was like over a span of like 2 weeks almost. Every time I make an album, I put it in a playlist on my phone just to see how it flows and stuff. And I was like, oh shit, this
flows.
And I was subconscious, like I didn't even notice I was drawing a circle. It was just all feeling.
Don't shoot me down.
Being one of the slower cuts off Igor, A Boy Is a Gun features one of the most reflective verses we've heard from Tyler up until this point. He's had time to calm down since the outburst of emotion we heard on the previous track, and accept that the relationship he desires is slowly slipping out from his fingers, still pleading with this mysterious love interest not to shoot him down. Referencing the famous phrase, "a girl is a gun," Tyler's lover may be worse for him than he initially thought, playing on the idea that love can be just as dangerous and volatile as a loaded gun. But on Puppet, he makes it clear that despite being aware of this harsh reality, he still remains at his lover's disposal, helplessly at the whim of the person he thinks he wants, but so desperately needs to leave behind. Which is when he finally chooses to free himself from this mental prison. What's Good is the 9th track on the album and features the first semblance of a hip-hop verse we've heard so far, with Tyler's manic lyrics plastered over a Kanye-esque beat, personifying his attempt to let loose and move on from a toxic situation. Now that he knows there's no way to rebuild a relationship with his crush, Igor attempts to distract himself and cope with the loss any way he knows how, which ranges from intense screaming to soft, delicate sentiments woven on Gone Gone Thank You. An open thank you note to his former lover for at least allowing him to experience those brief feelings of euphoria. Wishing him and his new girlfriend the best of luck moving forward, it's a difficult conclusion for Tyler to reach, but he knows it's the most mature thing to do, and ultimately, it's better to have felt something than nothing at all. Despite the heartfelt pain he still feels,